Hi, I'm Adam, the author of Motherless Child and the director of Truer MU. Here's 5 things you need to know to write compelling science fiction and fantasy. Number 1, finish the first draft. As Anne Lamott says, nobody reads your first draft. In other words, don't let anyone read it. That way you can write the stupid thing and get it done without freaking out. Because you have to have a finished something, even if it's a crappy mess, to move on to the next stage and eventually complete your book. There's an infinite amount of difference between the writer who's still working on that first draft and the writer who has 17 more drafts to go. The first is hampered by insecurity, and the second just has a lot of work to do. Number 2, know the 3 ways your book can excel. It can excel in ideas, characters, or plot. Any book worth its salt should probably excel in 2 of those ways, and it'll be a great experience for the reader. Get all 3, and you've got a Dune on your hands. If your book just has 1, it'll be a lot harder to stand out from the crowd and win an audience. Number 3, have favorite books and know what you like about them. If you don't have a favorite book, if you don't love reading, why are you writing? Okay, for money. Fine. You still need to know how the best-selling authors succeeded as writers. You can take a course or watch a YouTube video on writer's essentials, but if you really want to internalize good writing habits, you'll have to do more than just check things off a list. You have to write your book in a way that makes you love it. And to do that, you'll need to know what you love. Number 4, notice something in the world that you love and hate and put it in your creation. George Orwell came up with his most famous book, 1984, by moving the numbers in the year 1948. It seems like a book about a nightmarish future, but it's actually about the world he was living in at the time, just disguised and exaggerated. I did the same thing for Motherless Child. Noticed some things about my world like corporate culture, the definitive split between races in America, radical climate events, and I took them to the extreme for my world. You can do this in fantasy too, creating a conflict between imaginary tribes of creatures or having characters vie against forces seemingly beyond their control. Sound familiar? Number 5, know how to parse feedback. Just because someone put your book down at page 3 doesn't mean your book is bad. Just because someone said your book is brilliant doesn't mean it'll be a bestseller. Just because an editor or creative writing teacher told you your ideas are feeble doesn't mean you should give up. As a general rule of thumb, I'd suggest that if everyone says something different about your book, that can tell you who likes it and where you should be putting your energy as a writer and a marketer. If everyone says the same thing about your book, then what they're saying is probably true, no matter how hurtful it is, and you'll need to take a hard look at yourself to see why you're not seeing it too. Ultimately, learning what to do with suggestions, deciding which ones are valid for you and which ones are just plain valid is one of the most valuable skills you can develop as a writer in a world which doesn't care about your process, only what you can do for them today. Thanks for your time. I look forward to hearing from you, and check out my book.